Welcome, everyone. I heard we have maybe 14 people already in the waiting room watching this. This is the Faculty Hour presented by Blind Tiger Comedy. I'm your host, Ryan Beil. The Faculty Hour background I made last week is doing weird things to my body, hands, and head, but I'm not going to change it. I think it adds an element of avant-garde spirit that the internet sorely needs. What is the Faculty Hour? Well, it's a show that's not exactly a full hour, but it's where I interview different people who are faculty members of Blind Tiger Comedy Academy, which teaches sketch and improv and comedy skills. And this week, my guest will be Tom Hill, who we'll meet in a second. So we have one main topic we riff on. We'll find out what that is soon. We also get to know the faculty member a little bit more, deep diving into their bio, who they are, what makes them tick. We ask some fun questions, maybe some riddles, and then it all wraps up in a healthy 45 to 50-minute little package for your eyes, ears, and mostly brain. So without any further ado, let's get into it and welcome my guest. He is a teacher, a comedian, writer, performer, good human, the director or co-director of Blind Tiger Comedy. It's Tom Hill.
Hi.
Clap if you're watching. Hello. Tom, how are you?
I'm pretty great, man.
Nice hi, just while we're saying hi, we should also say hi to Peter Carlone, who's running our tech. Peter, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Hey, Peter.
Cool. Because if you got any questions you want for Tom or myself or Peter or anything about improv or comedy, you can fire them in the chat and Peter will make sure that I get them. Right, Peter?
Standing by, ready to do it.
Okay, good. He's plucky. Tom, back to you.
Okay.
How are you on this rainy day? It's rainy in Vancouver, BC, where both Tom and I are. Blocks away from each other.
Mere blocks.
I think if I shouted out my window, you would hear it?
These days, maybe.
The planes aren't there.
We went for a walk last night. One car. Have you heard how loud one car is?
Yeah, it's jarring.
Deafening.
It's jarring. Like, who's that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's loud.
It's good. But
I'm doing good. I think I just made the best pizza dough I've ever made.
Oh, I did pizza the other night. It was spectacular.
Yeah.
Do you have a circular pan?
No.
Yeah. We don't have a circular pan in this apartment either. Like the pizza was great, but there's something about being able to execute a circle pizza at home.
Yeah, mine's more of like an amoeba shape usually.
That's cute.
Like I'll have a little rounded edge piece.
Tom, last night you and your comedy partner Devin McKenzie, who also teaches for the Blind Tiger faculty, for your group Hip Bang, which is sketch and improv and comedy, you did 10 Speed, a show called 10 Speed, which was on a Zoom chat and a YouTube stream, right? Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that show went? I was in it. It was great.
It was so fun. Yeah, and it was a Blind Tiger co-pro in this case. Cool. Yeah, it was really fun. We wanted to do it because we ran that show for years at the beautiful China Cloud Studios.
Yeah.
And we'd stopped doing it for a good while. But it felt like a perfect show for online because it's already kind of a chaos.
And let's jump into it. Just briefly what it is. It's different groups have 10-minute sets. Mm-hmm. And when they start to go over 10 minutes, you and Devin introduce distractions until they wrap it up, right? And the distractions kind of amp up a bit.
Yeah. There's just something disruptive happens to you.
Disruptive, yes.
Distractions, straight up fuckery, whatever. It's and lots of stuff used to happen in the physical world, lots of physical things usually, and it was cool to sort of play with what was possible. What were all the boundaries of Zoom? Peter pulled up one of the craziest ones, which was overlaying a video game frame onto us while we were trying to do a scene. It was insanely disruptive. Couldn't process it.
I only saw what I saw on the Zoom because I was in the show, so I was in the Zoom meeting. I wasn't watching on YouTube, so I thought it was only an audio disruption, and the audio was making me laugh, like the video game audio of a YouTuber playing you and Devin in a scene. Anyways, it was great. If you missed it, you're gonna have to check out the next one. Maybe you'll do another one, 10 Speed online. It was a perfect online show. You had people from Magnet Theater, people from Toronto Second City. It was a star-studded cast. It was really, really fun to be a part of.
Totally. Yeah, well, I think we'll do it again. I don't know when.
Well, there you go. You got to check out just like live improv and comedy and theater existed in the world before in the before times, and it exists in the now times too. And you just got to be up on when it's happening because it's ephemeral. It goes away. You can only see it when it exists, and then we can still have that sense of community, which is fun. Okay, Tom, before we get to some fun questions, because I have this website where I ask it's like for people who don't know how to have fun conversations. So they have like 250 like fun questions. We'll ask you some fun questions from that website.
Oh,
But I
thanks,
want to
Tom.
get a little more earnest, and we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into your bio just so people can get to know who you are, Tom, just a little bit more. And again, it's not hard hitting. It's not like I have no gotcha journalism questions here. I'm not going to back you into a corner. Very soft, gentle interview. But just so where are you from? How did you find your way to improv? So where are you from, Tom? Where the frig are you from?
I'm friggin' from Regina, Saskatchewan.
The prairies.
Yeah, originally born in Edmonton, but mostly grew up in Regina.
Mhm.
Beautiful Regina. And yeah,
I love
then
Regina.
pretty quickly got out to Vancouver. Yeah, it's a great spot.
Mhm.
Lots of cool things there. Lots of cool people there. Shout out to Regina. Yeah, pretty quickly after high school, got out to Vancouver, and it was sort of a toss-up where I would go. And really, honestly, the decider was there was supposed to be a bit more improv in Vancouver.
Wow, look at you.
And I was a real improv nerd in high school, or I got into it sort of later in high school and was really into it. So it wasn't like I was sure it was going to be my career or something. I just thought, well, if it's everything else is the same, I might as well go where there's some improv.
Where was the other improv less choice?
Good question. Where was I even looking at? Well, Queens was an option. I did first
Right.
year in this
What's
program.
that? Windsor, Ontario? What's that?
Kingston,
Ontario. Okay.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of upsides to Kingston, I gotta say.
Is it a prison town? I think it's a prison town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
I'm
to
gonna
say the
that
town itself is a prison, but there's a prison there, prison adjacent.
I'm gonna come out and say it. Kingston is a prison, and I'm glad I'm not in it.
So you called yourself an improv nerd. You were an improv nerd in high school. You did improv in high school. Probably it comes up a lot on this show. It's a fledgling show, but the Canadian Improv Games is mentioned quite a bit. You're from that pedigree?
Came from the sweet pedigree of the Canadian Improv Games. Went to nationals. Had our team collapsed at nationals famously.
Mine too.
Oh.
It's the Nationals collapse.
It was so good and crazy, and an example of how privileged I am, because that was one of the worst things that happened to me in my life. That I was
Good perspective.
Crippled by that.
Crushed. Well, because for us, for my team, we were like this kind of like happy-go-lucky team from the West Coast, and then we went out to this national championship improv tournament in Ontario, and a lot of teams from Toronto and the surrounding areas took it very seriously.
Exactly.
And they
exactly
crushed us.
We were across the hall from Cardinal Carter,
Yes.
who are art school in Toronto, I think. And it was like they were professional scientists or something. They were so like they seemed cool, but they were so intense that they would never let you get close. And it was like they were just doing performance psychology stuff. Meanwhile, we're like making stupid videos, running around at Parliament Hill, like just being idiots.
Yeah. And that's good. There's value in that, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then we had a really bad show, and I'll never forget, we listened to Moby songs. I like cried in our room.
Yeah. Yeah. The crush of the emotions you have no way of dealing with as a teenager.
Absolutely.
Just everything is the worst. I love that. And then you found your way to Vancouver. You went to UBC. Did you do UBC Improv? The
UBC Improv was huge for me. Yeah.
Okay. Which is a club at UBC, which is University of British Columbia, for those of you who aren't here, which does a lot of amazing stuff. It's like has a lot of wonderful, cool performers come out of that club. Calling it a club kind of makes it seem like, because they do like huge performances, amazing people come out of it and go on to do cool things. So talk about that, Tommy.
That's a good summary, right? I mean, it's at the time, at least, it was the biggest university improv thing happening at any school in Canada. And yeah, there's just been such a great history there of cool people coming through, and then you see how cool it is and you want to get really involved. So yeah, Devin and I both came through that, and both of us were at different points the president. It's very turnovery, that club, so there's very little administrative connecting tissue, even though there's so many things you have to figure out. But anyway, it was super fun, lots of really big crazy shows. That's where I started doing a show for 500 people in a residence. when
Yeah.
you're just still very new at performing yourself.
Yeah.
Or 1,000 people, or doing an improv show in the Chan Center, like just wacky stuff.
So how
Um,
did you get to be a performer within the club? If there were so many people, did you have to was it like an audition based
Audition,
situations?
yeah.
Ah,
And nowadays, I
intense,
think it's
cool.
hundreds, if not 1,000 people audition for that every year.
Wow.
The auditions have become crazy, but they were crazy then too. It was, I don't know, maybe like 200 people auditioning.
That would be
Uh,
so nuts. That would be so much emotions and like hormones and like young people and
Totally.
that's crazy.
Yeah, and I got to UBC, it was my second year, and there just was no way to get to meet people in second year. First year they've got all these freshman things.
Sure.
Second year they're like, good luck out there, and
Mhm.
I saw this as like my one chance to, make friends, basically.
And it worked, right?
It totally worked.
Now,
Oh my god.
as also you for many years were part of a sketch group in Vancouver, which had regular shows, and big and small, called Pump Trolley.
Yeah, so
Which,
a bunch of us graduated out of that
Yeah.
crew, kind of a cohort that had come up together through UBC Improv, and we wanted to keep doing stuff, so we just flat out started a weekly sketch show, which was crazy.
So crazy. Was that your first foray into sketch, or did you had done sketch comedy? When did
Some
Hip
stuff.
Bang come about?
Hit Bang also came out of UBC. Dev and I had sort of admired each other at different groups at UBC, and finally had a cute chat while we were walking to the bar one night and agreed to just start doing stuff. So then, yeah, him and I started doing more and more, and actually touring a little bit as Hit Bang even before Pump Trolley started, and then Pump Trolley started as a weekly, and then we just kind of started doing as much as we could in the city. So.
Can you tell me, quickly talk about your relationship with sketch comedy and improv, and how one influences the other, and straddling both worlds? Anything you want to comment on that, because you do both quite regularly. You're an improv performer and a sketch comedian.
Yeah.
It seemed like you had your foot planted firmly in both, and so just like, what's that like?
The thing that jumps to mind about that, Rye, is that I think Dev and I can do a lot of things with sketch that are possible because of our long time doing improv together.
Cool.
And a big thing for us in sketch comedy is working with audience, which I think can sound a little hacky on the page, but in the way we like to do it, it's about introducing risk into the sketch so that everyone is aware it's not like stale content.
Mhm.
You're like dealing with a live audience member, and because we're so comfortable with each other as improvisers, we can bring a third person in and still feel very comfortable
Right.
working with our
That
shared
unknown
read of what they're
factor.
doing. Yeah, exactly. And sort of taking risks with them and trusting each other and our read on them. So that's where they've intersected the most, I would say.
Cool.
And just generally, and we go out to do a scripted show knowing someone might miss a line and we together will improvise out of it,
Nice.
rather than letting that end us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and beyond that, I mean, I think it's just a great tool for performers to learn. You learn how to write a laugh, how to work with what's supposed to be
Yeah.
funny in a scene, and likewise with improv. So
You're writing on your feet. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was a great bio time there, Tom. You did a great job. We learned a little bit
thank
more.
you.
Where would people, if people wanted to watch like Hip Bang sketches, can you watch that to get like stuff on just like a YouTube?
Yeah,
or
the
something
Hip
like
Bang YouTube has our first web series, Pitchmen, on it,
Mhm.
which we're still very proud of, and some other bits and bops.
Yeah.
Peter Carlone is featured on that YouTube page quite a bit.
Is that true, Peter?
Yeah, they had something go viral.
Really?
It got pretty hot on Reddit.
Reddit.
There's a series. Well, we have this full series coming out called Oddland that's been
Yeah.
in production for years.
Can't wait.
And Peter plays a character called the Wet Guy, who's a man who's always got water pouring over his face all the time.
I remember seeing some footage from that. Like a
Yeah,
yes.
and
Oh my
we
gosh.
basically waterboarded Peter Carlone for days of shooting.
It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
and yeah, then produced these series that, well, one of them won the JFL Shorts film thing and was shown at JFL Montreal.
Oh
and
yeah, I
then
forgot about that.
another little mini series of them, someone just found them and posted them on Reddit. Like we tried to figure out who it was, and we don't think we had anything to do with it or any connection to the person. And the one of them, I think it was the one where you were talking about how to eat a sandwich. Is that right, Peter?
Yeah, I think it was the sandwich one and the nightmares, the sleeping one.
Yeah.
How to sleep.
When will that series see the light of day?
Well, those videos are up. They're on
Right.
our YouTube channel. The series, I've stopped telling people when, but we're pretty
Yeah.
deep down the road of editing. I would say
That's amazing.
in this year, I hope.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Like
Should
a
keep
couple
Brad
of
Field for
weeks
that.
or a week or two.
Yeah, probably like this week, tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, so on the record. This show's all about getting people on the record and holding them accountable. Thank you, Peter. No, this show is much looser than that. In fact, that's a good segue to we do a lot of earnest talk, but then I like to always undercut it with some BS, some fluff. You know what I mean? And before we get to our main topic, we're going to go to my favorite 350 good questions to ask, the only list you'll ever need. Let's do 202. Okay, let's do no. I think I want to do this. I want to see how bad this website is. Questions to ask a guy. So they kind of have this gender section,
Oh God.
which seems a little outdated. But let's see here. Okay, what movie can you watch over and over and never get tired of? That doesn't necessarily just have to be for someone who identifies as a guy, but it's on the guy list on
I'll
this
take
stupid
this
website. So what's a movie you can watch over and over again and never get tired of, Tom?
Yeah, I'll take this one as a guy, right?
Okay, cool.
I would say, I mean, I think my favorite movie is No Country for Old Men. Love that movie. About to rewatch Her because I feel like it's really isolation-y, and I'm interested in that. Yeah, I don't know.
I could watch a lot of movies over and over again and have. And currently, that's what's on your mind. Let's do some more here. What's something you were really stressed about and it turned out to be no big deal?
Oh my God.
I mean, everything. These questions are terrible. Just so you know.
I had so many things come to mind about working in an industry where your appearance matters. That's what jumps to mind. It's like people needing to alter your appearance because they just immediately coldly identify a flaw in you and then need to change you. And they're just like, this is how it is. You have to be changed.
Yeah, sorry. Love it or leave it.
To the point of like, I'm not going to let you go to set. I'm not going to let you go to set if you look like that. It's like, what you mean, how I look?
Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah. An
Terrible business, but I can't wait for it to come back.
Yeah, totally. Please come back. The most recent thing I shot a commercial just before this isolation, and in the callback they said, were you wearing glasses in the first audition? And I said, oh, maybe I thought I guess I'm sorry. They're like, yeah, you just looked a bit older with them on. I was like, oh, okay. If you want, I can go home and get them for you. You know, the commercials are so lovely and shallow, and I hope they come back.
Yeah.
So I ran home because I was close to the casting place, got 3 pairs of glasses, and came back and tried them all on in like a bizarre fashion show thing with the woman that was going to play my wife standing by the whole time. She just waited. And in the end, I had never worn these glasses in public before. They loved them, and these glasses booked the ad.
There you go.
And now I wear them all the time.
Have options of glasses. That's a good tip for all you out there listening. What are our numbers like, Peter?
Let's take a look. We're at 15.
Hey, that's pretty good for us.
Yeah, doing good.
We're pretty good. Okay, a couple more of these fun questions and move on to our main topic here so we cleanse our palate. What is the most irritating food? What is the most annoying food? For me, it's anything with seeds, I guess, that get cut, the teeth seeds.
Teeth seeds. Yeah.
That's pretty annoying.
Oh God, I don't know. You know what I've been trying to be into sourdough starter, but fuck me. They're so sticky and annoying to make one. You gotta ruin 2 pots, or 2 jars. I don't know.
And bring a creature to life. Like, stop reminding me that it's alive. Why do I need? It's not alive.
I don't have to treat it like my child.
It doesn't have a brain. Does it have a brain?
Maybe it has a brain, but it doesn't have a personality. Okay, I refuse to respect that.
Oh man, existential crisis. But there's a lot of bread baking going on right now.
I mean, I just made pizza dough today, so I'm not above it.
I love a pizza dough. Thin? You make it real thin?
Thin as I can.
Thin as you can, exactly. You need a pizza.
I'm doing my best out here.
You're doing great. This is my smoothest interview I've ever had. What fictional villain is your favorite? These are so
Oh.
lame. Yeah, what villains do you like? That's a kind of like there's villains all over
Scar
this.
jumps right to mind.
What about from your favorite movie there, No Country for Old Men?
Oh,
Would you
yeah.
consider that character a villain? Maybe not a villain.
Are you kidding me?
He's kind of a nice guy.
The ultimate villain. Javier Bardem killing people with a cattle murderer, murdering air gun.
Just we're so good at figuring efficient ways to kill as a species.
That movie
Just
is so
intriguing.
that character is so scary. The idea that you don't get to find out why, even really, like what his deal. He's just abject evil.
It's a very interesting character. I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, Tom, and there's something called alignment where you're like character. You have to sort of like you're a neutral good or you're lawful good or you're chaotic evil. Sort of like helps you role play. And there's like this oft argued over one which is called neutral, a true neutral. Sort of like, and that character is often brought up as an example of like a true neutral, like because it like flips the coin. You know what I mean? Like a lot of that is just like what? How do you? Anyways, we could. This isn't what we're here for. We can't. We're already doing an improv-centric podcast. We can't get into D&D.
I want to talk about Ryan. What's the worst villain you've ever played?
Oh, villains. So I don't play a lot of. Casting wise, the worst person I've ever played was a character called Teach from American Buffalo by David Mamet.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember you playing that guy, and
I would describe him as a villain. Because David Mamet like wrote him to be the devil, basically. So if you haven't read American Buffalo, it's great. Great play. Even though David Mamet sucks now, he sucks now, right? He's right wing POS, I think. Unfortunately, that always stinks when that happens. But the work is it's a great piece of writing.
You smashed up Little Mountain sized set full of antiques once a day.
Yeah, at the end of the play, we did it at Little Mountain Gallery, famous little spot here where Blind Tiger used to teach out of and do performances in Vancouver, BC, a little performance venue. And when we did that play there, we made a little shop. And at the end of the play, the character Teach like busts it up with a big metal thing, and I did that once a night. And we had glass spraying onto the audience sometimes. It was really unsafe.
It was an amazing production.
Wild. Okay, but it's not about me. Okay, we're here. Okay, so that's enough. That's enough of fun questions, Tom. Sorry, you got to go back to serious, earnest talk now. I'm just kidding. We'll still have fun. We're moving on to our main topic, and our main topic, okay, it is corpsing. I thought we'd talk about corpsing. So it's always kind of a loose conversation. We're not trying to solve a problem. We're just sort of riffing around it and being inspired by it and maybe sharing some personal anecdotes. We've done bombing and failing. We've discussed suggestion and use of in improv scenes. We've talked about what else? We've talked about improv festivals and pre-show warm-ups and rituals and corpsing. So corpsing is something that comes up a lot for me. And for those that don't know what corpsing is, it's a term where you break character, you break the scene, you break whatever concentration you're doing on stage, and you laugh. You laugh at a joke, you laugh at yourself, you laugh in the moment. And so I thought we'd discuss that, Tom. I got the corpsing on Wikipedia. Corpsing is a British theatrical slang for unintentionally laughing during a non-humorous performance or when a role in a humorous performance is intended to be played straight. In North American TV and film, this is considered a variation of breaking character or simply breaking. The origin of the term corpsing itself is unclear, but may come from provoking an actor into laughing while portraying a corpse. So that's the go-to, like where it came from. Someone was supposed to be playing dead and then they laughed. So corpsing was invented. Tom, let's start with you. You can start anywhere you want on the topic of corpsing. You can even throw it right back to me. But like you don't have to like, what do you feel about it? But like, what's your relationship to corpsing in improv and sketch and performing in general?
I think the first thing I would say is that I think this is I was excited when you said this was the topic, because when I think of corpsing, I think of you.
I love it.
And not in a good way, obviously. I think what makes, I think it can be tricky because sometimes it sucks, but a lot of times it's great. And I think a big part of it is it's really delightful to see someone having that much fun that they break. Totally. With the caveat that they are still very committed to the show, and that you trust that they aren't breaking out of a lack of commitment to the show. And that's where I think you ride that line so well, is that you're so committed as a performer to a good show. We know that, we see that, and then you corpse as well, and it shows us both the joy that you're experiencing and the commitment. They're side by side. It's lovely.
That's so nice to say. That's really cool, and it's something I think about a lot too. And I think the deal too is like, as long as you're always trying to get back, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
as long as there's that deal between you and the audience can see that you're attempting to get back, no matter what that is, whether it's a big attempt or like, as long as you're trying, like you go back, I think that's good. Because sometimes as performers, you can dip too much into that well, and the audience like starts to smell bullshit, basically.
Yeah,
It's gotta be pure joy. It can't be like manufactured joy.
Totally.
Like that. Any instances you can remember where you have lost it? Like I corpse. We all, I think in improv, corpse happens, like you can have like little corpses throughout the entire performance, but like, I just want to talk about, can you think of, in your case, like moments where you couldn't go on, corpsing, like any like little corpse stories? I don't really have any like that, but like, people were like, oh, I laughed so hard.
Yeah, it's so circumstantial, I would say. Like
I remember one time doing
think
Bar
one
to the
thing that
Beach.
really delights.
Yes, please
Go
go.
ahead, sir.
I was just going to jump in. No, you go, Tom. It's your hour.
I froze. I froze. That's what happened. And what comes to mind is people at Theater Sports who I've worked with a lot, who I know, you know so much about what they do as a performer, and you see them do something a little off, a little like out of place to them, and it's the way that can delight me is, I think, pretty close to the top. Seeing someone like Taz
Yes.
he's talked before, or maybe it's that he's talked before the show about how he's trying to eat whole wheat pasta now. And he brings in as a waiter. He comes in as a waiter, and you just fucking know he's got whole wheat pasta on his tray, and you're like, you can just see it in his face that he's gonna serve it whenever he gets to it.
Yes.
It's
the small little intricacies. Yes, it doesn't
Yeah.
take much to set you off. It's just like tiny little things. I remember one time, I was going to say, it was kind of building on that at Bar on the Beach when I was doing a play, Shakespeare play, and this one actor, all it took for her to lose it in this way was like, she references, she like, and the Duke, and she references the Duke, and the Duke is supposed to be standing like right to her left, but for whatever reason the blocking is screwed up, and he was like on the exact opposite side of the stage, much far away from her, and she's like, and the Duke. And it was just this tiny little thing that we all realized, but she lost it in this beautiful way where she like like your brain starts to conspire to like make you find this so funny in this weird sort of like, almost like you're in a trance sort of way sometimes, like you can't get back to it. Okay.
Totally.
What are some tips, Tom, about like if someone was like, how do you not corpse? Because like, how would you try to have like, performance wise, I think we are trying to stay committed and we're trying to stay in it. And like I just said, I think like I like you, Tom, really like it. I find it like it's just a sharing in this joy and this fun. And like, as long as it doesn't become a crutch or, you don't go to the well too often. But like, if someone came up to you and was like, I corpse too much, how would you say, any tips or techniques you personally use to stop corpsing in the moment?
I think getting ready to commit to the show, really the things that focus you on that. So getting yourself warmed up to play a character, getting yourself really into the mind and body of a character, whether in that show or just all the time, getting those reps in so you lose yourself in character as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And similarly, thinking about committing to the show, I'm going to make this show as good as possible. I love a little moment before a show just to go, I'm going to make this show as good as possible. Just literally that one moment to yourself, a commitment to yourself that is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because I think, and that's one thing, it is a little bit tricky to teach. And same with commenting, I think. And a lot of that comes from, well, don't set out to do it. Don't set out to break or don't set out to comment, but set out to commit. And when it's so overwhelming that something needs to happen or that you need to corpse or whatever, then it will, and it'll be delightful in that moment. But if you set out as that, that's how I'm going to save this show or something, it's going to be problematic on a variety of levels.
100%. I liken it too to like, when like you have to cough and you just don't, you kind of power through it. Sometimes it feels like that when I'm on stage. It comes up more, I think, like for me, not corpsing comes up a lot more when I'm doing like film, TV, or theater, like acting. In improv, like you have a little bit more leeway as far as like your what'll happen to the show if you sort of break out of it.
I
But
think that can still happen though when if you get into that one of those moods where you've already laughed, you know, someone broke you right away,
yes,
and it brings out your like Sunday morning giggles or whatever.
yes,
And here you are doing like a 11:30 show. They paid money to see it, and I think that's where having the self-awareness to go like, I have done that now. I need to endeavor to tighten up and
yeah.
come back in with a committed character or whatever. And then I think even as you said, even if you were to corpse again, it's the recommitment that if then you've sincerely tried again and you corpsed again, well,
Yeah, well, you
oh,
know,
God damn, it was just too fun.
you know, you're only human. It's not you, it's your brain at that point, right?
Totally.
Don't try to think. I once tried to think. There was another Bard. I did Bard on the Beach a long time ago, and there was one moment where I just came one stupid scene where I would come on stage, and I was like a soldier, and this other character had to like gave me like 30 seconds of information, and that was the scene. And we were like, we're unable to do it without laughing. Like for whatever reason, when we locked eyes, we tried not looking at each other, and we knew that like it was not funny. There was nothing funny about it. And like the only way to get through it was to like give a pep talk, like, you little POS, like people paid money to watch your show. Like you just have to. So it's a mind over matter thing, but boy, is it hard.
I just thought of an example, which was shooting this show, which Oddland, which you know, maybe it'll never come out. There's a
You
scene
heard it
with
here.
there's a scene with Aaron Reed where he's playing a billionaire mayor, and he's trying to tell us about how he's trying to tell us about all the risks that he's taken. I think is the
Right.
premise. And I'm sitting in Devin's lap. I'm holding Caitlin's hand. We're all sitting at a table listening to Aaron, which already would have been perhaps tough in a variety of ways, like just to stay committed. But then we were really behind on time. We were losing our day. We were about to have to reopen the Lido. We were shooting at the Lido, and we had to get it. But he was being so funny. All we had to do was stay still, and it was still just brutal. I mean, brutal. The footage is so funny, and yet you can see kind of like yeah, once it gets in you, and if you can't take a break to calm it down or whatever, you just got to hold on for dear life, I think.
Yeah, just gotta hold on for dear life. That's all you can do. Here's I opened up Reddit, how to stop yourself from laughing. I think this is on r/Reddit maybe, and it says, someone just says, practice lying. Tell somebody a bullshit story and let it get crazier and crazier. Don't do that. That's never a good idea for how to get better at improvising.
Be dishonest as a regular practice.
Find a friend and betray them. Any final words? Oh, if you want to get some comments or questions about the main topic of corpsing, you can type it into the chat, and Peter will get to that. We'll get to some chat questions if there are any in a little bit. But final thoughts on corpsing, Tom? Anything else? Any final words here? I know it's always hard to have final words on something because it's not like we're not like, are you for it or against it? But like any sort of like last sort of like hurrah here on corpsing.
Well, I think just one thing we haven't talked about that is related is if there's this pair of commitment versus corpsing, there's also the commitment versus corpsing of whoever else is in the scene, and the seeing someone corpse while the other person stays absolutely committed is lovely.
No.
And that they, you know, the person that you know, I think of Ray Lynn from Theater Sports has made me corpse before, and if they stay in it and the audience can see that I'm corpsing because of Ray Lynn, but Ray Lynn is still 100% like a dick dinosaur or whatever she's doing at that moment, I there and is very like still 100% in that physicality and is still doing what I was laughing at. I think that rounds out the dynamic to be super funny.
Completely. 100%. People who don't corpse, like uncorpseable people, fascinate me too, because that's just not a life I know. I laugh. I'm a goofy little guy up there, and I'm always on the edge. But people who are like almost uncorpseable, I don't know. Do you know some people? Like Taz Van Rassel is almost uncorpseable. He's very like,
yeah,
he's very aloof.
Yeah, Taz comes to mind. Geez.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bunch
How are
of-
you? How
bunch
are
of
you? Would you
comedians.
say? How would you rate yourself on
Um,
corpseable scale?
that's a good question. I think I'm probably around where you, maybe a little better than you, better in quotes.
You're in the goofy zone.
I'll corpse. Yeah, I'll corpse. Uh, I also love to make someone corpse though, and once
Ugh.
I've got them, I would say I'm usually pretty locked in. Like I'm gonna get the most out of them.
And that's a pretty good like objective to have when doing comedy with other people, is to try to make them laugh. As far as like, what do you do? What do you say? How do you be funny? How do you write jokes? You know, when you're in the room with someone or you're on stage with someone, attempting to make them break is a pretty good objective, I think, as far as chasing good comedy.
I don't know if I've seen Kayla Lorette,
Oh,
break.
she's pretty good. Yeah.
But again, commitment, right? Just
Yes.
hardcore commitment to her brilliant smoker, like assistant character or whatever she's doing.
Kayla Lorette, check out New Eden on Crave. 14 of you, 15 maybe.
Very
Wow,
good
that was a
stuff.
really fruitful conversation about corpsing. Thank you, Tom, very much. Thank you for the kind words, because I also think about corpsing a lot with what I do on stage, because I can't help it. Everyone's so funny, even when they're not. We're going to get into a few more fun questions, and then we're going to open it up to some chat questions. Have there been any questions in the chat at all, Peter? Oh, there's some popping up now. That's good. While they filter in, we'll probably have 2 or 3, maybe even 4. You never know. I'm going to go back to my favorite. We're going to go to a new topic, though. We're going to go to 202 philosophical questions. That'll be fun, especially on this website. Pick a number between 1 and 200, I guess.
197.
Okay, I'm going to have to do a bit of scrolling here. Well, that's cool. I gave you the option. And scrolling all the way to the bottom here. Here we go. 197?
That's
Or
the one.
99?
197.
97. Will we keep leaping to even greater technological and scientific breakthroughs that radically change society? Or will the rate of progress slow and humanity's progress be limited to incremental improvements? What? I've never heard a question like this on this website. This is complex and complicated. Will there be a ceiling to our technological advance, Tom, or will we just keep technologically advancing into oblivion?
I mean, this is why we go right to 197, right? You know? This is where the good stuff is.
This is where the juice is. You're right.
I mean, yeah, I think it's going to keep getting wilder and wilder.
It has to.
Electric cars are here. I mean, at certain
self-driving cars.
Self-driving cars. I mean, there is the question of like, yeah, sometimes we have like regulation stuff that slows things down. But I mean, yeah, shit's moving fast.
The only way it would stop moving is if, like in the book I'm reading online currently, Dune, there's an uprising against computers. Like there's like a human uprising to sort of like limit how far we go, which I can see happening.
That I was we were like reading aloud in the house the book Sapiens, which is I like to roll my eyes out a little bit because it's I think it's something that people like to say they're reading. Yeah, nonetheless, Sapiens. Here I am saying that we're reading it. Anyway, the author of that book, Yuval Harari, is like convinced it's an absolute fact that a modified human AI combo will overtake Homo sapiens like soon, like in 50 years.
Wow.
And I mean, he puts some pretty convincing arguments forward in this book.
Yeah.
People seem to look to him as a good thinker.
Wow.
The fact that he's just convinced, like it's an absolute. Yeah. I'm like, sure, yeah, probably, but I don't fucking know.
I don't know either. Wow. Okay, let's go back down. That's too high. Let's go back down. And let's see if there's like, let's see if they do get progressively more heavy. Oh no, they don't. How replaceable are you?
Wow.
That's a question. That's a question they're supposing you should ask in a conversation when you're trying to meet someone new. How replaceable are you? I guess am supremely replaceable in some ways and not replaceable at all in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, casting wise, God, I'm constantly being reminded of how replaceable I am. Sometimes I'm stunned by how much someone else in the room looks exactly like me. So that's interchangeable.
You are
other things, Rye, I think what we're doing specifically, the exact experiences we've had and been privileged to have to this point make us uniquely equipped to be in this position, but
harder to replace, but not irreplaceable. Obviously.
Not irreplaceable, and also why we need to be offering those experiences to other people.
No one's irreplaceable. Remember that. Remember, if you take one thing away from today.
Yeah.
Everyone's
You,
replaceable.
you thought this was going to be a light,
Yeah, well,
non-hard-hitting hour, but this has been very hard-hitting.
It's been a bit more. It's been a bit more journalistic than I've ever done, and it's a credit to you and the topics you chose and the numbers you chose randomly too, Tom.
Thank you.
Let's go to the chat now. I'm going to go to the chat. I'm going to get a couple things out of the way. Chris Benson wants to know, am I using 2 different mugs? Yes, I am. One is water, one is tea. Then someone wanted to know, did Taz really ruin your Switch, or was that a bit? It was a bit, but it was my Switch. Here's one from an improviser. Oh, I want to commit yourself. Oh, this is how to stop yourself from corpsing. 1, commit to your point of view to prevent corpsing. 2, when it inevitably happens, you have to go with it. It happens, so acknowledge it, incorporate it. I think those are wise words. Here's a question for everybody: when did you laugh the hardest, in a set or just in everyday life? So when have you laughed? When have you laughed the hardest, Tom? When have you? When did you laugh the hardest?
My partner is the funniest person in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that she behaves around the home,
Mm-hmm.
in particular, is
So home life
absolutely
jokes.
out of control. Yeah, and the way that she can surprise me and disturb me, and I don't know, just knows exactly how to upturn my whole point of view. Crushes me.
Home jokes are great jokes.
Home jokes.
For me, I laugh the hardest when I'm watching a terrible movie. I think that's what it is. When I'm with friends and I'm watching, that's one of my favorite exercises, which I've done since I was very, very young boy. But getting a movie which is known to be terrible with a bunch of people you like to laugh with, it's otherworldly funny. So that's my go-to for how laughing. Ghost time games. Question about corpsing. Is it ever a good idea to incorporate it into a scene if you're struggling to quell it? Tom, is it ever a good idea to incorporate it into a scene? I think probably.
Yeah, I think everything that's happening, you're corpsing what the audience is doing, what your scene partner's doing, that's all part of what's happening in the scene. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you want to be careful of like the cliches of incorporating into a scene, like pretending it's crying has happened a lot. Sometimes, yeah, I think you just want to be careful of making sure it's organic and not sort of a forced sort of incorporation, I guess is my little point there.
And is the audience with you, or are they just kind of waiting for you to stop?
Well, that's a good question into another question here, which is, have either of you corpsed where the audience did not laugh along, and how can you recover from that? I mean, yes, for sure. I've laughed at my own jokes and other improvisers' jokes, which have been proven to not please the audience all the time. You
Countless
can recover
times.
from that, of course. But Tom, do you want to speak on this question?
Well, I think we've already sort of got, yes, commit back to it. Make some other committed choices. Like, move forward.
Yeah.
If you want to, maybe you hate that audience.
Yeah. Maybe you do. Yeah. Sometimes, you know what? The customer is not always right. Not 100% of the time. I mean, they're giving you direct feedback and they're right for what it was for that evening,
Yeah.
Right. But
yeah, no, I think mostly it's commit back to it. I think we've all been there. Like, something I would say, maybe here's a helpful example. Devin and I, getting back into the bio part of the faculty hour, we did a set. We had Kevin Galise out to UBC Improv as a guest teacher. He saw Devin and I perform and said we reminded him of his group, Scratch. So he had us out to Rapid Fire to do a set in Edmonton. And so all that is to say, it was a high stakes moment for us to do this set. And in the set, we started pretty well. We got into this one scene that was just going nowhere. And we and it starts to become funny to you how bad a scene is going, I would say, especially as it went on. And we just couldn't find a way through it. But we kept doubling down to it, kept committing to it, and eventually corrected this, made it the best scene in the show. But it was like 7 minutes long, of which the first 4.5 were probably absolutely terrible.
Right.
But that continuous commitment to it, I think we really brought the audience along for the rest of the way, because we didn't give up on the thing that wasn't working. We kept committing to it, re-engaging with it and whatever. And then in a super bold move, we applied to Improvaganza, the big festival at Rapid Fire the next year, and sent the clip from that scene of it. Wow. So starting bad on their stage and then turning it around. Because I think ultimately, if you can get through that, if you can get through these moments where you lose the audience or you lose your scene partner or whatever, but you still commit and have fun and make fun choices for yourself in that moment when it's not as fun. I think that's,
You have
especially
to, you
inspiring.
can definitely recover from it. That's a great personal anecdote, but you have to have an awareness of the audience and the audience's experience for sure as you
For
go.
sure.
If you don't have that self-awareness, you're not gonna maybe even notice that they're not with you. You're just having a great time.
Yeah, for sure.
My goodness, what a great faculty hour it's been. Before we get it, thank you for everyone in the chats and your questions and your thoughts on corpsing. Yeah, to you as well, Tom. I don't know. We should plug some stuff before we get out of here. You're the director of Blind Tiger Comedy. A lot of classes that we're offering online are started. But there are always some popping up. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few more that are still going to start, and there's more we'll announce soon. There's lots of ways to do comedy with us. Why not try sketch right now? Why not do some improv? It's fun out here. It's fun.
The improv is going great. The sketch is like nothing's different. I've heard a lot of people like nothing's different, obviously, but it translates very well to the online medium of Zoom meetings and such.
Yeah. And blindtigercomedy.ca. Y'all know it if you're watching.
And we do performances what, Fridays?
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
I would like to plug one in particular.
Please.
Actually, Ryan, I froze, didn't I?
Just briefly, you're back up,
the
buddy.
thing I'd like to plug, it's called Everything's Fine. It's my quarantine comedy class. We've been doing video journals. All the participants have been doing video journals almost every day. And working out how we're experiencing this as comedians and building that with the help of the amazing editing skills of Peter Carlone into sort of it's going to be mostly video, but multimedia presentation that is one of the most powerful things I've ever worked on. It's very surprisingly emotional. Maybe it's not surprising in the context, but also very funny. That show is happening on the same night, this Friday, as my experimental online sketch class, which I'm starting to teach right away here.
Yes, you got to
and it's them pushing the boundaries of what's possible with online comedy. So both of those shows are this Friday, the 8th, I think at 7 p.m.
Friday the 8th, 7 p.m. on the Blind Tiger Comedy YouTube channel, I reckon.
Yeah, heck yeah. This very channel. Like and subscribe. Peter
Carlone, thank you very much. I know you can't say anything. You got to be quiet in your apartment, but you were a wonderful, plucky sound engineer. Tom Hill, you were a fantastic guest on the Corpsing show. Go teach a class. Go have fun. You're wonderful. Bye.
You're a wonderful host. Bye, Ryan.